Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Two Bros, One Beard. I'm John, here with my brother Michael.
Heyo.
And we're excited to finally get to review the latest from Metallica called 72 Seasons.
Yep. Yep.
So here is the album.
Awesome packaging. Look at that.
Right? So, I mean, before we start talking about this, we got to talk about this packaging for a second. So, I know a ton of videos have done this already. So many people own the record, but here's kind of the package review. We have this sort of slipcase thing.
Cool.
And then here's where it gets fun. So, it opens up into photos of all the band members and
That's awesome.
And what? Oh, wait.
Oh,
Booklet.
Hey, oh,
There's this. That's a CD's in my car. But anyway,
all right.
That's where the CD goes, right?
Nice.
It's like, it took me 15 minutes to get to the CD, but I got to it. I don't know about this. I mean, it's a cool idea. We talked about this when we did our Symphony X review, but the whole Paradise Lost thing, where it was similar to this, with like flames that you had to like fold out and
It's
get
like
to
it's a little much to get to the CD, but if you throw the CD on your iPod or something, then
yeah,
it's cool just to kind of show off the.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen is this is just going to get its own case once I pull it out of the stereo in the car, and it's just going to sit right next to this on the shelf, and this is never going to be opened again. I was watching Sea of Tranquility. I love what the joke Pete Bardo made. He was like, when you're done, it's just like, what do you do with this like takeout container? You just like throw some chow mein in there, toss it off to the side, and I'm struggling to even find desk space. This is going on the floor. So I don't know. It's fine. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no track listing on the outside. The track listing and song links was on the disc itself.
That's weird. It's not in the booklet?
No. Well, obviously lyrics are. And
well, I know that, but it's a little weird.
A little weird. So anyway, we have this record once again produced by Greg Fidelman.
Okay.
And who also produced the last record.
Okay. How many years? We got 7 years between albums?
Hardwired was 2016.
2016, yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. That's less of a gap than than the previous record. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was 8 years, but
if you get a chance to check out his So What, it's kind of their fanzine. There's an interview that James Hetfield did.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of goes into what was happening with the making of this, and obviously, the lockdowns prevented a lot of bands from being able to work together.
the idea was to release this, 3 or 4 years after Hardwired. I think they had the songs a while ago.
It sounds like, well, no, they didn't have, I don't think, much of anything until they actually started working, but there was some, I think, probably riffs and ideas, sure.
Yeah.
But he kind of went into detail about all of that and how they actually finally got started on the thing and stuff like that. But
okay.
I'll tell you one of the things that's different from Hardwired is the collaboration. So we have all songs written by Hetfield and Ulrich except 72 Seasons, Crown of Barbed Wire, Chasing Light, If Darkness Had a Sun, which are credited to Hetfield, Ulrich, and Hammett. Okay. And then Screaming Suicide, Sleepwalk My Life Away, and You Must Burn have Hetfield, Ulrich, and Trujillo in there. So I don't need to go into all the details about the collaborations, but
isn't that the typical way they collaborate? I mean,
well, it's been, at least on the last record, the entire thing's credited to James and Lars, with the exception of, I think there's one track where Trujillo has a writing credit on.
Okay.
But James talks a lot about in this new interview about kind of letting go of some of that control and opening up the floor, so to speak, and letting the other members write and contribute and all of that stuff. So who knows what exact riffs or whatever each band member contributed to. But anyway, just kind of starting from the beginning, just overall impressions. I obviously went into this record with a lot of anticipation based on some of the singles. Certainly, I was blown away by Lux Eterna, like a lot of people were. I mean, I love the fact.
Yep.
Love that it was just a little over 3 minutes, and it was fast. It was exciting. It was kind of upbeat. Screaming
catchy,
Suicide.
I mean, as catchy as they come.
As catchy as they come.
Great solo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Screaming Suicide, started to kind of like taper those expectations down a little bit, but it's a good song. After that, we got If Darkness Had a Sun, which I thought was just way too long, but it was overall a pretty good song.
Yep.
And then I think a week or just a few days before this album release, they dropped the title track 72 Seasons, which my impression going through this is, my first impression kind of was like, well, it doesn't really get much better than that. The start track to me is the best song.
Agreed.
It's great that Lux Eterna is right in the middle to kind of pick things back up a bit.
It gives the album an adrenaline shot where it's in the perfect spot. You got the best song to open the record, and then you got a nice pick me up in the middle. So that definitely helped. Yep.
And other than that, other impressions were that there is not a spit out the bone level track on this record. That was definitely an impression I had going through it.
Oh, true.
But I thought, there was a lot of talk about how long the record was, how excessively long the songs were. It is.
No, I can't do this anymore. I can't. It's too long. Quit telling your stupid story about the stupid desert and just die already. Die!
And so I couldn't help but take that into the initial listen. And the first couple listens, I thought, Shadows Follow, Sleepwalk My Life Away, just chuck those songs out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like, they probably, since the songs were so long, you probably could have taken the two worst tracks out, probably. And
or done what they did with Hardwired, which was have kind of the deluxe edition where you got one great song on that. Lords of Summer is amazing.
Oh, it is. Yeah, true. Yeah.
And then you had, I think, what was it? Maybe at least one other song besides that I was like, yeah, that's probably best to leave this off, and then covers and whatnot.
Yeah.
I would have almost preferred that and just kind of had the streamlined record without a couple of these tracks. But after I've listened to it, though, a few more times, I've kind of changed my mind on that. But let me kick it over to you. What were your first impressions?
I mean, so this is coming from someone who's not a huge Metallica fan. I'm more of a greatest hits. Do they have a greatest hits, by the way? They should.
No.
They need one for fans like me. Because if you take their 12, I want like an official one. You give me their 12 or 14 best songs, it's hard to argue that they're not some of the 12 best metal songs ever written. So I mean, I have tremendous amount of respect for them. I think they belong on Mount Rushmore of metal for sure, even though I'm not a huge fan. So my initial impression, I actually was a big fan of Hardwired because I didn't really have high expectations. It was the first Metallica record I think I ever purchased on its release day. And which makes sense because they've only released like 3 records in my lifetime. But yeah, so my first thought was, I'm really impressed that a band with this much success, with as much money and fame as they have, they're still not phoning it in. They're still trying to make a really strong record. I mean, there's plenty of bands. I mean, any band that are on their level as far as record sales, they're probably not really releasing records. And if they are, I mean, it's just so they could tour, and they know it's not that good. I mean, you could tell they were trying to make as good a record as they can. They didn't cheat the fans. The songs are super long. I mean, the riffs are amazing. And I think it's an extremely strong record. I'm impressed by how good James' voice still is at his age. It's remarkable. I'm impressed by how heavy they are. I mean, they haven't compromised their heaviness at all. They're still, rocking as hard as they ever have. I love Lars's drumming. I mean, he just plays with so much feel and energy. I know he gets a lot of flack for not being the most technical drummer in the world, but he's my type of drummer because he's playing with just pure feel and energy. And I thought there's plenty of great Kirk Hammett solos on this. So yeah, overall I thought it was really strong. We talked about it. 72 seasons. That's as good as it gets. To me that's Metal Song of the Year. It should win the Grammy. It's just incredible. Riff wise, it's super catchy chorus. It's over 7 minutes long. See, my note is it's like pure, unadulterated American heavy metal. And as we've talked about before, when American heavy metal is great, nothing beats it. And this is like a perfect example. So yeah, just an incredible song. Lux Eterna is my second favorite. But yeah, I mean, most of the songs are really strong. The closing track, I think it's like 11 minutes. It didn't feel like it the first time, and then I looked at the song length. I was like, oh wow, it's a good song. But I almost needed more of a. I think this album needed more of a ballady Metallica song because it's so heavy and there's a lot of dark themes on this record, like with Screaming Suicide. What's the Crown of Barbed Wire? I mean, there's a lot of super heavy stuff here. Maybe they could have lightened it up on one track. But other than that, I mean, super strong record. It's up there with Hardwired. It's close, very similar sounding. It's mixed perfectly. I mean, it sounds as good as a record can sound. And yeah, let's hear more of your thoughts. That's what I got for now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, you shared some really good insights, especially from someone who's not as familiar with their catalog. So we talked about, my backstory with Metallica. I mean, they were one of the first two, rock bands I really got into, and certainly the first metal band I ever got into. And my journey started with Load because that was the new record that was most current when I got into them. And then I went back from there, of course. But certainly my gateway into heavier music, and a huge fan of really the entire catalog, pretty much except for Saint Anger. Like I love all their stuff. So yeah, you mentioned a couple first impressions I left out. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like it almost goes without saying at this point, because the almost unanimous opinion is that James sounds fantastic on this record, especially when you consider, his age and gosh, the road wear,
touring. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. And the mix is really great. And that's one thing with Metallica is they've had challenges with records. They always have, certainly on like the first five, they have their unique thing, but it'd be hard to argue that it's like the best mix or anything like that. It sounds like Metallica. And I think Load and Reload, as far as
it's almost like thrashier sounding, but this record has more of a cleaner sound, I thought.
I agree. Yeah. It wasn't until Load and Reload that I think people could actually objectively argue like this is a great sounding record, whether or not you actually like the shift in direction and stuff like that.
But what about the Black Album?
Well, yes, but
because that was like their peak, you would say.
Yeah. But we all know Saint Anger and Death Magnetic have their issues. As far as sonically, but yeah, as soon as they hit with this new producer, I mean, it sounds great. I think this one sounds even better than Hardwired. I think that you can really hear bass pronounced a lot more than you ever could before.
Yeah, especially on the opening track. That is kind of opens with bass and just that the cymbal work on that song sounds so cool. And his snare is just the coolest, punchiest sounding. I just love his drum sound overall, and I love the way he plays. Sometimes he leaves the toms like unscathed.
Yeah.
But other than that, every once in a while he'll get in like a super nice fill. But for the most part, I mean, he stays in the pocket. But I just like it. I like more of the drumming where like if I dedicated myself for like 6 months, I think I could play these songs. Instead of listening to like Dream Theater and you're just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah. But the other thing I picked up on was just how much I love the guitar tone. James's the rhythm parts.
Killer. It reminds me a lot of like a John Schaefer.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because one of the things with John is that as heavy as Ice Earth is, he's always been big on maintaining that clarity of the instrument itself. So he's really particular about the guitar he's using, the pickups he's using, and all of that stuff. And I think with James playing, it's on this record, it's like it sounds to me like they even dialed the gain back just enough to where you can really feel. And also too, there's no hiding any there's no way to hide bad playing. I mean, his picking is so precise, and you're really getting that. I mean, it feels like you're in the room with that ESP or Gibson or whatever he's using. Like it just has that tone is just so signature, and it's awesome. I love that. So I got to get into, kind of the overarching critique of this. I just got to say, as much as I try to appreciate it, it's for sure going to be Kirk's solos on this.
Really?
And I'm really disappointed.
See, I like him.
Well, I'm disappointed because I think he's still very capable. Looking back to like a Spit Out the Bone, for instance, I thought his solo on that song is fantastic. His solo on 72 Seasons is great. There's that whole solo section has this like rhythmic change up. I think it changes like 3 times, and he keeps up and he does different things. That's my favorite solo he did.
Like his lead work where he plays, essentially turns the main riff into a solo, and just plays the main riff fast, so it almost sounds like a solo. And then he usually has a solo in the middle. If the solos are a little short, it's almost like as soon as like he started like shredding, they're like, all right, enough, Kirk, we're moving on.
It's like
you got 6 seconds to nail this solo. If you can't do it, which isn't fair. I mean, give him a little more time. The songs are so long. You think you could extend a solo to about 20 seconds, maybe he could really show what he could do. But I liked it. Yeah.
I don't know what it is with him, because like I was talking in our last video about his EP and the things he's capable of. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, being in that room with James and Lars. I don't know what it is, but I think that where he has moments where like he's doing, I don't know, just kind of these basic bluesy like double stop things, and it's just like, okay, you did it already, got it. But then he'll shift it up into something that's really cool, and then like you said, before you know it, the solo's over.
Yeah.
So that's one issue for me. But besides a couple of the tracks that we mentioned as highlights, what I love the most about this record are there's a few spots in here where the harmonies are just so sweet.
True. Yeah.
And
what was the song? I mean, I thought also he showcased a little bit, different sides to his voice, to where it's just not always, the really aggressive style. There was some clean elements. I forgot what song it was. Track 2? What was track 2? Shadows Fall?
Shadows Follow, yep.
Yeah, it's that chorus where I was like, I'm hearing stuff in his voice that I haven't heard before. It made me think like it would have been nice if he, released a solo album at some point and just showed a different side to his voice, because I feel like his voice is almost like not his natural singing voice. I could be wrong. Maybe that just kind of how that comes out, but it almost like he's altering his voice to fit the style, but he could do a lot more things. His voice is obviously, defined the genre, and so many singers have copied him. But still, there's some little things on the final track as well. Just there's cleaner elements to his voice, and he could convey more emotion than what he's kind of done. So that's what stood out to me too.
Sure. I noticed that, and this is what I got from a song like Moth into the Flame, for instance, where it's like they go into a chorus, and it's like this like really amazing melody with a harmony vocal, and then before you know it, boom, bump, bump, but like they go back into the main riff, and you're like, no, keep that going. So they do that here on Too Far Gone. When he gets into
there you go. That's another one.
The part of the chorus where it's
chorus,
right. Am I too far gone? And then it opens up the riff. Am I too far gone to save? Help me, and then before you know it, help me make it through the day is back, I think, to a single vocal.
We could have used one more line on that chorus,
Yeah. So that's one thing where I'm like, man, they have the capability to do some of this stuff. And as a producer, why wouldn't you be like, whoa, hold on, guys. What we're going to do right now is expand on that, and it's going to be the best song ever.
I agree. Because it's so different.
It's so different, yeah. But I just wanted to go back to the harmony thing. So I think Too Far Gone has a really sweet harmony section, but Room of Mirrors, man, that harmony section on that, it's incredible. And it's like, and they bring it back again towards the end of the song. Love that. the harmony section on the last track, is it Inamorata?
Mm-hmm.
With the bends and the way they do it, man, it really reminds me of To Live Is To Die, which you may not be as familiar with, but off of Injustice for All, that instrumental.
Okay.
Oh man, it's like when you get kind of those glimpses of the past and it sounds still new and fresh and genuine, like this is what they're trying to do. They're not just trying to, copy what they've done before. But I mean, there's definite moments on this thing that are genuinely great. And then there's stuff where I'm like, I think we could have trimmed this down into a really great song. And some of it is just a repetition of certain riffs, or it's like you don't have to do it 4 times every time and then do the next riff 4 times.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. You can just, so. But I mean, that's kind of been a shared frustration with a lot of people. I think for these guys, when you're the songwriter and you're in the moment and they're in that room together and they're really just connecting on something, it sounds cool. You just keep it going. Yeah. I just think that's where you almost need this. You need that party that's on the outside, someone who's real, like, no, not going to do that. Like a Bob Rock or something, to be like, no.
Yeah.
But
I could see that. I think if you trimmed a few songs, they could have been, more of those, that radio friendly sound. I mean, Lux Eterna is like that perfect length. Yeah.
Nailed
I agree.
It. And to me, that's a vision of what could have been throughout when you take some of these songs and just produce them a little differently. But I think here's the deal. This is the record we got, and I'm still proud to be a Metallica fan to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think comparative to any of their peers who are still doing this thing, I mean, is Exodus and Overkill heavier? Fine, sure.
Yeah.
They've also been making the same record forever, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I think, the closest comparison would be, what were your thoughts on the last Megadeth? Well, lyrically, doesn't hold a candle to this.
Oh, for sure. I agree. Yeah.
While it had moments like, We'll Be Back, where it's just like, dang, that's like, rest in peace level Megadeth. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of stuff on that record that is not rest in peace Megadeth, and it's just not good.
Yeah.
I think, as far as the big four or just kind of their movement of thrash, I mean, aside from maybe a couple of those bands, man, they're still on top.
Yeah, and that's what's so amazing. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you could, critique the new record, but I'm still just blown away by how great they still are at, 30 plus years later. So
yeah.
I mean, we didn't get cheated on this record. They did,
No, and it's like, I'm spoiled with so many bands we love, where it's like you get used to just loving the whole record, and there's times where it's just like, maybe you don't. It's okay. I mean, there's gosh, do the math in my head. 77 minutes of music here. It's like,
exactly.
Okay, so 10 of it, you're kind of just like meh. But
if you appreciate most of it, it's like,
I
mean, there's a lot to love on this record. So
100%. So one thing I did want to mention, though, I don't know if this could be its own. Maybe make this its own video at some point once you get a little more familiar with maybe the last couple records. But I would argue, and because this record made me want to go back and listen to Hardwired and kind of touch on the title track and
see, I didn't go
Atlas
back to
Rise.
Hardwired. So would you say that you like Hardwired more than this record, or okay?
No, because to me the problem with Hardwired is you got Hardwired and Atlas Rise and Moth into the Flame and then at the end of it, Spit Out the Bone, and then Lords of Summer. That should have been on the proper record. Yeah. That whole middle thing, man, just like. So what I was gonna say is, like, it'd be fun to, and not every song, but like you said, one of the things this record is missing is, besides Inamorata, where you have that midsection where it just takes a breather for a second, and James sings a lot lower, and it's basically just kind of bass and light drums and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that section was actually really great. It wasn't longer than it needed to be, and you said it exactly. When I was like 11 minutes. Wow. Did not feel at all like 11 minutes.
I was like, that must be a mistake. And I was
Yeah. Or there's like the kind of the run out at the end, and then like you have like a bonus song or something. No, it actually is a very well paced and really cool song. But there's a lot on Hardwired where it maybe starts off with a riff and then it kind of takes a step back and goes into more of a clean passage and then picks up again and all that stuff. Even that record doesn't have an actual ballad like we got on Death Magnetic, where you actually have kind of more of like the Metallica ballad. So
that's what
I
this
think
record needed. I think they were the closest to it is the closing track, but
yeah, that'd be the closest.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool to discuss if you're more familiar with those other two, because my opinion is if you take, because I really think that Saint Anger is sort of like that. There's a before and after thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some really great stuff leading up to it. There's that, and then after it, when we get that sense Metallica is returning to a little bit, they're returning to like the proper Metallica sound.
Yeah.
Out of those three records, you could take the best tracks off those three. You could make a record. I know it's unfair because we're talking like 15 years or something.
Yeah.
But you could make a record for all the critics of like new Metallica, so like their 80s albums are the best or whatever. I think you could take the best tracks on those three. You could make something that rivals. Certainly, the Black Album could rival Justice for All, especially because there's some highs, man. Like there really really are. So that would be a fun little project is to kind of distill the absolute best into the modern era Metallica that is just as good, I think, as almost their best work.
Well, I'm guessing like they wouldn't even think of doing this, but I always think bands like Metallica to where maybe fans don't love a complete record is to take those songs and re-record them so that they all sound the same. And because James's voice is still so strong that it's something you could do quickly and you could make a lot of money. I just get in the studio and just like re-record some stuff and like turn it into like a complete record. But
well, I guess
that's something they'll do. But
that's what the live show is for, I suppose. That's kind of what Anders talked about that from In Flames about that whole thing, and he's not wrong. When I've seen In Flames live, only because I haven't seen Metallica in so long, but I've seen clips. He's not wrong. You hear a new song which everyone says sucks and it's too whatever, it doesn't sound like old In Flames, compared to then they're like, oh, I'll play a track from our second record. It's like a seamless live experience. You're not getting this like, oh, the new stuff. If you're really just listening to just how the band's playing and stuff like that. So I know from watching Metallica footage over, we'll say the most recent tours and stuff, prior the last big tour, for instance, and stuff like that. It's like it is because they've cut out some of the, they're not doing some of the stuff offload and reload that's way out there, but they're still gonna do. I think they're still gonna throw in like King Nothing or Fuel or something like that. I think. But anyway, it's one experience live where it's just like, yep, it sounds like Metallica all the way through, and you're getting that consistent sound. So if anything, what we could maybe use from these guys right now, or maybe sometime this year, is like a new kind of definitive live record would be really fun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, I'd certainly want to see that in accompanying with it, a proper, live video and stuff like that. Yep. Throw it out in theaters. It totally seems like something they would do.
When's the last time they released a live Blu-ray? It's been a little while.
Probably the S&M 2 that came out.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Which sounded great.
Yeah.
But so I got a kind of a closing question for you. Okay, now that you sort of have Hardwired under your belt, you got this one under your belt. At one point, do you feel like you're ready to dive into the back catalog and really commit to this thing?
Well, I've listened to almost every Metallica record except for I think Saint Anger and what's the other one that fans weren't crazy about, but I think there was one more. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they've had their records remixed. I mean, part of it is
kind of.
Their records don't sound that great, especially the earlier ones, even if, I love the songs. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely give them a deeper dive. I was always kind of like a fan of the Black Album because That was their most accessible record or most popular. So that's a record I want to go back to and dive back into. But yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm just not, a diehard Metallica fan.
All right. Well, we'll get you there.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Shall we wrap this one up?
Just wrap it up. Go ahead, John.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We'd appreciate any likes, subscriptions, comments, and got lots more content coming out for you very soon. So thanks everybody for stopping by. You take care.
Take care.